are you ready to move on and speak to our guest, sir?
I'm trying, man. I really am.
The entire show down into the gutter. Oh, ClydeSight, are you there?
Hello, Scotty. Hello, JC.
How are you?
How is our audio levels, guys?
I can hear you well.
Okay, that's good. Have to do it on the fly a little bit.
ClydeSight needs to be loud. Tell him to scream.
Tell him to scream? No, he's not going to scream through the entire interview. Hold on, let me just shift this over here like
Get your
that.
equipment working right, man. You're an engineer, for God's sake.
Well, you know, when you're doing everything held together with chicken wire, Kleenex, and spit, then the knowledge doesn't matter anymore.
It's all
ClydeSight,
good, my
you're
friend.
still with us.
Hello, can you hear me?
From around the world, you are hearing ClydeSight from ClydeSight Productions, a very good close friend of the show, and a contributor and a sponsor of the show with assistance on the website. We want to give him big plugs out to ClydeSightProductions.com. Go out there and check out his website. Not during the show! Get your finger off the mouse. Keep watching the screen. You can look at his website afterwards. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be bringing up his website here in a couple of minutes, so just hang tight there, coaches.
The webpage that we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about a special project that ClydeSight Productions is into, the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame. So tell us, why did you create the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame?
Well, we put the vintage tape recorders up on YouTube as videos. As you well know, we've got about 100 videos up there. And it's fun seeing it on YouTube, but it's a little hard to find them sometimes. So several people have suggested, why don't you make a virtual museum where you can catalog all of these things? People can go there and they can look them up. So it's a little bit more organized than YouTube, but we are still on YouTube, so we have both.
Absolutely. There's other tape recorder museum websites. What makes yours different? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, well, we looked at a lot of the other websites, and some of them are really, really nice. And what we decided was we wanted to include things that we didn't find on those sites. So in our site, we have photographs, and we also have specifications on the machines, wherever we can find those specifications. Sometimes that's really hard to dig up. Plus, we have the videos, and we also have project videos, things you can actually do with a tape recorder. Because otherwise, sometimes people, they sit with a tape recorder and they look at it and they go, "What's it do?"
Records and plays back sound. What qualifies a tape recorder for inclusion in the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame?
We are looking to find machines that inspire and to help educate people about the ingenuity and the wonderful designs that they put into these old machines. So we're not always looking for the audio quality or the collector's item type of thing. We're looking for machines that are different and they're kind of inspiring. So, we look at the visual design, we look at the construction, we look at the electronics, and how did the builders get all that to work and actually create a viable tape recorder? For example, there's a machine called the Mayfair 1602, which is up on YouTube, and it is on our Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame.
Hold on just a second. Scott, can we get the page up?
Absolutely. I'm bringing it up right now. So as you see right here, there is the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame website, and we're going to go through this site in its full entirety through the interview, and we will do our best to bring you what you'd like to see, Clyde.
Where would we find the Mayfair? Where do we
go
click?
into the Recorders tab, the main Recorders tab on your top of your screen underneath the Hall of Fame.
Okay, and we're there.
Okay, there's a slight delay, so hang on. And then hit the Recorders button, the gold one.
Gotcha.
We're waiting for this delay. Okay, now just scroll down until you see Mayfair 1602.
Mayfair 1602. Here we go. Right there. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Now just click on that and you'll see some nice pictures.
Yeah, cool.
And as you can see, and I'm just hovering over on top of a couple of these, and so you don't have to click on these, ladies and gentlemen. When you want to see these pictures, just take your mouse and hover on top of them, and you'll be able to see every picture as it's there, very, very nicely, and very nicely done indeed.
Yeah, that's the design we came up with. We looked at some slideshow software, and we got a little bit of inspiration from that. And for technical reasons, and because we update these things all the time, we decided to use this. It's actually based on a JavaScript routine. Hello.
Very cool. Yes, absolutely.
So let me go back over to the main page so everybody can see what it looks like. This is the right over here is the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame main page, and just so that they know, after the show, where can they find this website? What would be the URL that you would send them to, ClydeSight?
It's very easy. Just ClydeSight.com/VTR.
Fantastic. And if you go to ClydeSight Productions 2, if you go to our past show guest page on our site, there is some information on ClydeSight's website, and you can read all about it and click directly from there. So directly from live.ScottyDonline.com, you can find the link. So we've got it right here on our page right now.
Absolutely. Now, you started talking about the Mayfair. What makes that particular tape recorder special? I don't think we got into that.
It won a design award from the Museum of Modern Art in New York City in the late 1960s. And I remember seeing Look magazine did a feature article on all the design awards. I think they did that every year. And I remember reading that article and seeing the Mayfair tape recorder listed there. And, of course, at the time I was kind of very snobby about tape recorders. And I knew that the Mayfair was the audio quality wasn't that good. And so I thought, well, what a joke that is. And later on, as I learned about design and so on, I realized what the museum was going for. They were showing a design award, industrial design award, for something that it's very pretty. Obviously, they didn't listen to it.
Yeah, the quality wasn't there. I noticed that on every page of the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame site, the banner image is different. How'd you come up with that idea?
That's a concept we call themed web pages. And Scotty, if you can just move up the browser there, just move up to the top of the page.
Yep.
Okay, you see up at the top there, you see it looks like you're inside a gallery.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's a stool there with a blue pad on it, and you see all the little kiosks. Now go to one of the other pages.
So there you have it. We're standing outside on the About Us.
Right. So there you're standing outside the tape recorder museum. Now if you click on the Contact Us page.
Sure, right there.
Okay, there's a slight delay here, but what you'll see on the Contact Us page is we come in as a close-up, and if you look carefully, you see there's a mail slot at the door. And we call this themed web pages, and the reason we did it is we wanted to give people a feeling that they were actually at a building, even though this is just an imaginary virtual building that we created in Bryce. So we created the building, we created the interiors, and then we rendered these different scenes because, you know, doing this kind of thing in Flash and so on would run into some problems with Google and getting the search engines to capture all the pages. So we went with this solution instead.
Absolutely. Every tape recorder on your site has these wonderful overview pictures showing the machine from different angles. They're very dramatic. How did you come up with that idea, and who takes those wonderful pictures? Because the photography is fantastic.
Well, the pictures are taken by a co-founder of the museum and co-curator. His name is Skip, and that's how he's known. He's known as Skip, and he is very, very, very much into photography and takes fabulous pictures of all sorts of things, nature pictures. He went on a trip to Paris. He's got incredible pictures of the city of Paris. And we were talking, and I wanted him to take the pictures for the the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And so he comes over with his camera. He's got this huge, huge camera setup that he uses. And he is so generous with his time. He takes pictures of these things from every possible angle he can think of. And so sometimes we've got 200 pictures that he's taken. And from that, then we pick the 8 pictures that are going to be shown on the display.
Wow.
He said his whole thing is, it's the visual, it's the angle. We got to get their attention. We want to show off what this machine is about. And the picture is worth 1,000 words. And I think he gets probably between 900 and 1,100 words out of each of his pictures.
Wow. You know, that's what's interesting about looking at the pictures on the site is the fact that all of these machines have not been treated this way since their advertising layouts were done back in the 60s.
That's true, and it's interesting to look at the old ads. In fact, I purchased an old ad for an Emerson tape recorder from eBay. I was going to say YouTube, but you can't do that. And it's interesting how they set the things up, and Skip and I talked about that, and we wanted to go a little bit better. And Scotty, can you go back over to one tape recorder just to show again how Skip sets those things up?
Absolutely. Let me go over here. I'll go to recorders, and I will just randomly pick one that I think is cool. And I like these little mini things that you have going on here. So I'm going to pick this Granada VT. Oh, that's not really a mini, but it was very compact for its time back in the day.
Yeah, and that's a very beautiful machine, with that wooden case and so on. And so, for that shot, we were trying to figure out where would be a great place to shoot this, and we shot that on my front porch, which is enclosed, because we wanted to get that carpet background and so on. The green just shows off the wood and the gold. It's a beautiful machine.
Absolutely. Hey, this site has been up for a little while. Do people contact you from the Hall of Fame? What kind of things do they say?
Well, yes, they do contact, and they often have questions about the machines that they have. They may find a machine in an attic, and they don't know what it is or what it does. And so they'll contact us, and they'll say, well, where can I get parts for it, or how can I work with it, and what can I do with it? And a wonderful example was a woman who found an old tape recorder up in her attic, and she was looking it up on the internet and came across our site. And she contacted us, and she said, can I use the machine? And we said, yeah, turn it on, and it'll probably work. And if it doesn't, there's some things you can do to work it. Well, it turned out that this is a tape recorder her father had, who had put it up in the attic along with all of his tapes. And she started listening to the tapes, and he had recorded an audio diary of his life experience, talking about things she never, ever heard of. And it was amazing for her. She was very grateful to our inspiration because she was getting a living history of her father, who had passed away, and was reconnecting with him through the technology.
Absolutely. Now, I happen to know of something very special that resulted from the Hall of Fame concerning a musical celebrity. Tell us the story.
Okay, this one was really, really amazing. This is the John Lennon backup master tape story. And what happened was a visitor to the Hall of Fame contacted us, and he said, I have this, what I think is a backup master tape from John Lennon from the song Give Peace a Chance. He said, so which tape recorder should I buy on eBay to play it back? And, of course, immediately I wrote back and I said, this is very, very special, and you're going to have to use a studio machine, so contact a studio. And I gave him the name of a studio that I recommended. And in the discussion, he sent me a photograph of the back of the tape, and it had the name of the engineer as well as the specifications, 15 inches per second, half-track stereo, and so on. And he contacted the engineer. He actually looked up the engineer, Ken Scott, and they got in touch with each other. They got together, and they archived the tape onto CD for him, and then they took care of the tape. They baked the tape specially, and I don't recommend anybody just take a tape and throw it in your oven like a cake. You got to have professionals do this because they know what they're doing. And then they wrapped it in special acid-free plastic and stuff. And so the whole thing now is archived, and it will last a great deal longer than it would have otherwise.
Absolutely. Many of the machines in the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame are pretty unknown. Some of them are even bizarre. Some are portables that you would think are not worth archiving. Why do you feature those machines?
Well, we look for the unusual because there's plenty of people who are looking for brand names, and they're collecting, like people collect Sonys, people collect Iowas, and they're very fine machines. There's no question about that. But we look for these unusual ones because of the way they were manufactured. Now, there's two ways you can manufacture a product and sell product. And one of the things, in fact, talking about Apple today, we're seeing a perfect example of that. They came out with the iPad, and now they're coming out with the iPad mini. Okay?
We think, maybe.
They're not going to destroy the iPad. They're coming out with another product that is equally exciting. So people have the iPad, they'll have the iPad mini.
Right.
And that's what a lot of manufacturers did in the old days. Like Sony would come out with new models every year, every other year. And Detroit was doing the same thing with cars. But on the other hand, the other alternative was to do something called planned obsolescence. And what they would do is they would manufacture machines that would fall apart within a year, 2 years, so that you would have to go out and buy another machine. So what we look is, we look for the machines that were designed to do that, because they often were very, very cute. They were very nicely designed visually, and sometimes they even had outstanding audio quality. And we find those machines and we restore them because, you know, if you've got everything going against you and they've designed you to die in a year, you're still going after 40 years. That's an accomplishment.
That is amazing.
Well, you know what I find interesting is, you know, I love riding around the city that I live in on the weekends and looking at garage sales. And you would be amazed, for those of you who are watching this show, take a ride around your city or township that you live in and look at garage sales and see what people have. A lot of times people don't really know what they have, and it's very close to ending up in the city dump and disappearing from the face of the earth. And just, you know, if you can grab one of these items for pennies on the dollar, probably, you know, for the sake of the argument, I know that I've ran into reel-to-reel tape machines and turntables that people don't know what they are, and they're willing to get rid of it for $5. And all you'd have to do is take a little TLC, bring it home, clean it up, love it, caress it, tell it you care about it, and this thing will come back to life. You know, these things were built like tanks, and there's a lot of legacy to be held on to this. I have in my possession, in my ownership, an old full Victrola turntable setup that has been passed down through the years from my grandparents, and it's in my possession now. And right before I inherited this turntable, family members were like, "Well, why do you want that? It's junk. The part of the wood leg is rotted off." And I'm thinking, I don't care. You know, you've got to hold on to these legacy things, because once they're gone, they're gone. All you're going to get now is a piece of plastic and metal, and they call it an iPod. You know,
that's what music is. Still with us, ClydeSight?
Yes, something just went a little bit berserk there, but
okay.
It wasn't Scotty. Scotty made sense.
Okay. So what's in store?
I agree. I totally agree. And, you know, if you get on YouTube, you can look at wire recorders. Now, these are recorders from way, way, way back, before tape recorders were even made. And you would think, you know, from 1930 and 1935, you'd expect the machine would never work. People restore them, and it's amazing how good some of these machines sound.
Absolutely. What's in store for the future of the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame?
Oh, well, I think that would probably be more tape recorders.
So if you find them at the yard sale and you don't quite know what to do with it, you can always send it to ClydeSight.
Oh, yes. Well, we'll certainly be happy to help you with that. But the thing, what we want to do is we want to open a new section, which we're planning on doing, called Stories. And that's where when people write to us and they tell us about their machines and what they've got, we can put those stories up on the website so that people can look at that. So let's say, for example, I'm corresponding with somebody now who is looking for an old WebCore. And the WebCore machine he was looking for is, I think it's called the Statesman. Now, he had one as a kid, and that's why he was looking for it. And he found one on eBay. There's a whole story behind why he wanted that and so on, and what that means to him to get one again. And that's the human factor of this. Technology is not just isolated sitting in a garage, or if it is, get it out of the garage, bring it into your home, and let it be part of your life, because it makes a difference.
Absolutely. Well, it obviously costs you money and time to do this Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame. How do you fund it?
Well, the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame is a privately funded online museum. It's funded by ClydeSight Productions, which is the business that we have. And we cannot, because we're a business, we cannot accept donations. You can't, you know, be a profit business and accept donations at the same time. So the support for that museum comes from the sale of our products. And we have a number of products that are available. Excuse me, they're all, excuse me, I had to clear my voice there. all the products are software-based. You can get them on the internet from our website. You buy them, you go through PayPal, or you can go through a vendor we have called Accelerate, which is a digital river company. And as soon as you make your purchase, you download your product, it goes right onto your computer, and you can use it.
Cool. And the quickest way to get there is simply to scroll down this page. Not now. Wait a minute. But you'll see the big banner there for ClydeSight Productions, who also handles the web services for Interface. And make sure that you check out all the really cool products.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
we have a link on every one of your pages because we can do that. And the links will take you to different aspects of ClydeSight Productions and the products that we have.
Mm. Go ahead, Scott.
So, yeah, I just want to give a big thanks to ClydeSight. Again, he's been a big instrumental part of Interface, giving us support for the web service administration. So I hope that you, the viewer, get a chance to spend some quality time over at the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame. I kid you not. You will go through this and you can spend hours just by yourself researching and looking up what's out there. And more importantly, just exposing yourself to great technologies that have just about disappeared from today's marketplace.
Well, there's still some cassette recorders around, but I think it's safe to say that the 3-inch reel-to-reel is a thing of the past, except at the Vintage Tape Recorder Hall of Fame.
Yes, and I want to address in the chat room, Cool Dude Clem. Give a shout out to you, and you asked, is it acoustic or does it have electronic playback? And yes, there is electronic playback in the recorder section and of course in the project section when you go to the videos.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the way to do that. We don't put music up on the site and so on for various reasons, including copyright reasons. Plus, sometimes you go to a website and music just starts up and you weren't expecting it. It's like you don't like it. It can distract you from what you're doing.
It's really, yeah, it's a strange experience. Make it so I can click the button, please.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, I want to thank you guys for letting me work with you on your website. I really enjoyed doing that, and I did a great job.
You did do a great job.
But it was fun. I watch your show all the time, of course. I'm a big champion of you guys. And I wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you very much.
It's a wonderful show.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we think that you do some wonderful work, too. So it's Mutual Admiration Society. Go to ClydeSight.com and click on the Virtual Tape Recorder Hall of Fame. Check out all the really cool products, plus the web hosting services. ClydeSight is what you would call a Renaissance man, ladies and gentlemen. He's into all kinds of things.
You betcha. And in the chat room, Cool Dude Clem was asking the question about my Victrola. I don't know much more about it than I own it at this point. It's still being stored away, and I'm looking probably to find a way to get this thing restored to full operational condition because it's been sitting in a storage room for quite a long time, and I don't want to turn anything on or any part of operating it until I get this thing cleaned professionally and restored professionally, because you've seen it. If you ever watched the antique shows on TV, somebody whips out their Dremel tool and their steel wool, and they start to scrub on these devices, and they ruin them.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do it. Hire somebody that can professionally do it. I don't have the knowledge nor the time to take something from the early 1900s and get it back in operational. I wasn't even a gleam in my dad's eye back then, so I'm not going to go trying to fix this thing.
All right, well, ClydeSight, we're going to let you go and move on here, and thank you for being a part of the show once again.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you both, Scotty and JC, and I hope if you've got any cold problems still hanging on, you get over that right away and are tip-top shape.
Thank you, sir.
You betcha. Now, ClydeSight, you're still going to hang out in the chat room for a bit?
All set.
ClydeSight, you're still going to hang out in the chat room, right?
I think so.
Okay, all right,
cool.
so you could chat with ClydeSight in the chat room as we're going through the rest of the show.